All right, hi y'all, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead, Denise, and you might recognize Charlotte from a couple of videos ago.
Hello.
And this is her husband, Chris.
Hi.
So we are actually going to be showing them how to make a compost pile. So we've already made one, we're going to make a second one. This is part of our chicken aid compost pile. So we're allowing the chickens to actually do the work for us to make compost. And we'll show you in a moment down there what it looks like after about 3.5 weeks. But let's go ahead and show you step by step how we put this together. And then we'll put some food on it and let the chickens go to work. All right, so what we're putting this in, this is woven wire that Ben has made into a circle, and he has covered it with chicken wire. And the reason that we put chicken wire around it is you can see how wide these squares are. The chickens just scratch it and it throws out here and it ends up being all over the place, and we end up having to put it back in every day or every other day. And we don't want more work on the homestead if we don't need to. We don't need it. So that's why we have this around, and it actually holds the litter in. Now this litter here, we've actually just cleaned out the duck coop. So we are going to take everything, the litter from the duck coop, we're going to put it in here, and then...
Is that the nitrogen or the...
Well, this has, so so when you're doing a hot compost pile, you want an equal amounts of carbon and an equal amount of nitrogen. Now, nitrogen are going to be your greens, carbon are going to be your browns. The straw is a carbon, so that's going to be your browns. All of the poop and the urine that's in there that the ducks have pooped and peed on, that is going to be your nitrogen source.
So we have both here.
We have both here, but as you'll see in a moment, we're going to add something to the compost pile to actually activate it. Okay. So let's go ahead and get the first part on, and then Chris, you had a question?
We have to soak it down first, right?
You don't have to worry about putting water down first. We're going to put the first layer on and then you're going to soak it. Okay. But you're going to keep the hose on consistently, so just keep the hose on and spraying on it. Okay. And the reason we do that is to make sure that it's really well saturated. You need microorganisms that are in compost need both water and they need both oxygen to thrive. So that's why we're going to soak it down really good.
Repeat his question. They wouldn't hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Chris is, I apologize. I forgot Chris wasn't wearing a mic. He asked if you need to start soaking the ground before you put everything down. Nope, just need to keep the hose on and it'll get everything nice and soaked.
All right, let's go.
All right. Yep, and just spread the water all around. And then in just a moment, we're going to put another ingredient down.
I think this pile of straw doesn't feel quite as compacted as that last pile. It makes it easier for the forking.
Right. All right, now, normally we would activate this with comfrey, but we've had a lot of freezes, it's getting cold, so the comfrey's dying back, and what comfrey we have left we're using for the animals. But a quick trick, alfalfa powder works great as an activator. So we're just going to spread this on. You actually don't need a lot of alfalfa. Oh, this compacted in here. I'll get some out. There you go. You don't need a lot of alfalfa powder, but you're going to want to put it in. So you're going to want to do a layer of straw, alfalfa powder, straw, alfalfa powder, which you'll see as we keep going.
You can use coffee, right?
You can use coffee. You do not want to use coffee, though, with your chicken aid compost pile. Coffee grounds are not good for chickens.
Like it'll kill them, or it makes them anxious?
It can make them sick.
It just makes them sick.
Yeah, so.
Makes them hyper.
Chickens are already hyper enough. All right, and Ben just went down and got some more litter. This is actually from our rabbits. So we've got duck litter and rabbit litter in here for the chickies. All right, and then let's put a little more alfalfa on.
And it's okay. It's okay for them to romp around in all this urine and everything.
Oh yeah,
That's fine.
it's fine. Well, and this is, so these, you know, especially the rabbit stuff, right? They're gonna wanna go through. So if they had come across a nest of rabbits, like in the wild, they would scratch through it and eat all the bugs and anything that's in it.
I would have thought the opposite. Like, ooh, that's filthy. They'll get sick from it.
No, actually, it actually helps them, believe it or not. Because in these compost piles, as the microbiota grow, it has extra protein. So they're able to scratch down in there and get the bugs and everything that's growing in the compost pile. So it's actually healthy for them. It's a natural source of protein for them.
All right.
Yeah, and I know that was one thing when I first learned about this through Permapastures Farm. I had asked them, well, are you going to have any parasite issues with this? And they had said never, because remember, everything's breaking down into compost. Okay, and then we'll soak the top, and then pretty well done. We got some rabbit poopies in here we can put down. All right, so this is our chicken feed that we make up. It is corn, peas, wheat, oats, fish meal, poultry NutriBalancer, and we mix this together, and how we feed them is we put it in a bucket, soak it in water. 2 reasons we soak it in water. One is so that it swells and they don't need as much. The second is so that it doesn't fall through the straw. So you definitely want to feed them on the compost piles. You'll just want to make sure the food is wet so you don't have it going all through the pile immediately.
We don't want it on the bottom. They scratch,
Exactly.
but not that far. Okay. Right on top.
Right on top.
You want me to water it?
Nope, it's already watered. Thank you though. Right on top.
And how old is the dark one?
About 3.5 weeks old.
Now, how long, when will it be done?
In about 4 weeks, typically.
So it's almost done.
Yep. Yep, that's almost done. You can see the difference between this one, and we showed this in the last video we did, but you can see this all looked like that just a few weeks ago. That's all breaking down.
Almost looks like dirt.
Exactly. And this is all full of all the beneficial microbiota, bacteria, everything that you need, but the chickens are doing most of the work for us.
Now, once this is done, are you going to use it right away, or can you put a tarp over it and have it for your spring garden?
You can do either one. So we will take this, since this is the area that we will have the dent corn, right? We will probably, once this is done, we're probably just gonna put it out on here because
So
this
just
needs
take
the nutrients.
Take this off and start spreading it out.
Actually, that's the beauty of having two-legged tractors. We can just take the cage off and they'll spread it for us.
Yes.
Even better.
Yes.
Okay.
And then what we've done in the past is we have taken this and put it up by our garden, and then if we're not ready to use it immediately, we, like you said, we will put a tarp over it, and that'll protect it from water, from rain, from the rain, from the wind. Because what'll happen if the compost pile's done and you leave it out to the elements for months, all those nutrients are going to wash away. So that's why you want to put a tarp over it. So
Will it break down further while it's under the tarp, or does it just kind of stop what it's doing?
it stops once it's done. I mean, if it's not completely done, it can break down a little further, but because it's under a tarp and you're not turning it and you're not putting extra water in it,
Oxygen and water.
it's just going to end up, yeah,
It's going to stay.
it'll just stop, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go home and start a compost pile.
Yep. So yeah, it's actually not hard, and they'll jump up here. As soon as we're out of here, they'll jump up on here and they'll start eating.
Now, compost is still different than fertilizer.
Compost is a fertilizer.
What I mean is, you guys had competitions between Dr. Fertilizer and...
Dr. Earth and MI Gardner.
Right. So do you use that on top of your compost?
No, so when we first got here, we did not have a lot of compost. And our soil, especially in our garden area, was really poor. So we ended up getting Dr. Earth and MI Gardner's trifecta just to help us initially. But we got so busy, we forgot to produce the results of the MI Gardner and the Dr. Earth. So we ended up doing it again the next year so that we could kind of, you know, show them how it works. But typically now that we have, now that we're making our own compost, now that we have the chickens and everything else, we are not using any external outputs. Everything is coming from our homestead. But when you start, that's not always easy to do. So you are going to need to bring in things from outside. You may have to buy compost. You'll have to get wood chips from outside. Just, you know, we just had some delivered. But for the most part, outside of like the wood chips and stuff, everything we're doing now is internal. Okay. So we're using the fertilizer from our animals.
Do you ever add anything else to it, like minerals, or this is it?
This is
that's
it.
Your fertilizer.
Yep. And in the spring and summer, when we add the comfrey is going to have all the minerals that we need from it.
But the comfrey is going to replace the alfalfa.
Exactly.
Since you brought up the wood chips, you probably ought to explain the disadvantage of putting wood chips down.
Yes. Okay. So when you first start, if you're not using a good quality fertilizer, a good quality compost, the wood chips can start to take away nitrogen when they first start to break down. So that is something that most people don't know. Like the first year or so, you can actually it can actually start to take away some of the nitrogen from the soil as it breaks down. But if you've got good quality compost or fertilizers, that's not typically an issue. Like we have not seen that issue in our garden. But if you are just putting, like say we just put wood chips right over this and we don't have any fertilizer or add anything else to it, the wood chips will start to break down, and initially they're going to take some of the nitrogen out of the soil.
Out of the soil.
Does that make sense?
Putting it in.
Exactly. But because we have the compost down and then we'll put the wood chips over the compost, we've already got that nitrogen back into the ground. If that makes sense. He's such a goober. So, yeah, so what we'll do, so once the chickens have gone through this area really well, we'll put the compost down to fertilize it, and then we're going to put the wood chips on top. The wood chips are going to do two things. One, they're going to stop the grasses and the weeds from growing up. But secondly, they're going to break down just like they do in the forest, right? As a tree falls, as branches fall, it breaks down and then it starts to feed the soil again.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's how we do our Chicken Aid compost piles, and they do a lot of the work for us. We do still have another pile over there, but for the most part, you know, we're kind of letting the chickens do it for us. All right. Any questions? Does it make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you.
All right.
And all I need is for this man to hold my water hose.
Yep, that's it. Or you can hold the water hose and he can do the compost. So, all right, y'all, leave any comments. Let us know. Are you doing the Chicken Aid tractor? And if you need some more in-depth look at how this all works, like a day-by-day, Permapastures Farm has a playlist on this that I will go ahead and link in the description. But let us know if you have any questions and if you're doing this. So, but thanks so much. We appreciate y'all so much. God bless, and y'all have a great day. Bye.